Welcome to the podcast of Data and Analytics in Business. We will learn from the leading industry experts using data and analytics to solve the problems and create values in practice. We will also learn where the industry is heading to and how data and analytics will shape the industry in the future. Most importantly, how they are preparing their business for digital transformation and disruption in the future. I'm your host, Jason Tan, and thank you for listening. In this episode, we have got Jerry Abiog. Jerry is the co-founder and the chief marketing for the company Standard Insight. At Standard Insight, he empowered the business to drive data-driven omnichannel marketing campaign with precise audience targeting. And to do that, Jerry and his team at the Standard Insight also have developed this product called iOrder.menu, specifically built for the restaurant industry to help the business owner and the restaurant owner with the digital transformation in allowing the customer to order their food with this digital menu. However, what they go above and beyond though is about the data collection they do on behalf of the restaurant owner and subsequently building up the mathematical model to help the restaurant owner to do the upselling and the cross-selling, as well as helping them to understand the customer preference, as well as some of the best-selling product, equally including what is the item that the customer would be likely to order, and also the customer would likely to order as a pair as their history are built up due to their frequent visit with the restaurant. And just like Jerry said, it's about taking the action with the data that you have collected and how to use that data to drive the business performance. Beyond that, Jerry and I also discuss about how this whole digital transformation in terms of the digital menu could potentially change the tipping culture in the state, whether how that will pan out in the future. Obviously, we will find out in the future. If you have any question for me and Jerry, feel free to send us a voice message or send us an email. And again, as usual, I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey, Jerry, welcome to the Analytics Show podcast. I'm super excited to have you here today. How are you doing?
Hey, great, Jason. Thanks for having me on. It's great to talk to someone from the other side of the world, sitting here in Atlanta and you're in Melbourne.
I know, right? So it's about 6:30 in the east coast of the state now, which is also Tuesday. Well, morning here in Australia. How it is. Now, let's start live. I noticed that you are Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. What belt do you have?
Yeah, I'm an old man blue belt. I'll be 50 years old soon, and I've got my blue belt. So I'm an old man blue belt, always going up against the young guys.
I'm sure you can tackle them pretty easily with all your experience. Experience is important, right? Now, to share about, it looks like you started your journey from consultant, and then you run your startup until you founding your own startup. So how was that journey like? I presume it can be a little bit similar to the journey of how you were getting your blue belt as a...
Yeah, both. They're not easy, and it involves a lot of pain, lots of trials and tribulations. But my career, I left the corporate world 10 years ago. And when that happened, I started my own business helping software companies with sales and marketing initiatives. And along the way, I've had some great clients that have successful exits, and then some not so great clients. And Jason, as they say in life, you learn from failure. And one of the failures I had, it was a client of mine. They were my first experience with an AI machine learning startup. While they had a great idea and a great concept, how we executed it wasn't good. And therefore, the concept failed and the startup failed. So two things I learned at that time. Number one, doesn't matter what software you are using, you have to solve your potential customers or your customers' business problem, and it has to be easy to use. And number two, there was something bubbling beneath the surface with regards to AI and machine learning applications. So there was a study put out by Statista at the end of last year that said the world of AI machine learning in 5 short years will be close to a $500 billion industry. So when this was happening at the same time, I met my future co-founder. He was visiting from Chennai, India in Atlanta. I used to live in Atlanta, and I met him through mutual friends. And he pitched me an idea of a prototype that he was working on, helping businesses drive repeat buyers. And my fellow co-founder, I mentioned he used to live in Atlanta. He used to work as a technological architect for one of the biggest companies on the planet, General Electric. He worked there for 10 years, and then he left Atlanta, moved back to India, and returned to Atlanta visiting. That's how I met him. And I thought his concept sounded neat, and there was something behind it. And what I learned from my prior startup that failed, I took his concept. I flew from Atlanta, Georgia out to Denver, Colorado for a retail trade show. And when I returned to Atlanta, had secured 2 beta clients, and that's how Standard Insights formed.
Right. So this is the Standard Insight, the company that you running now. For some of the listeners who are not familiar with the Standard Insight, who are in Australia or in Southeast Asia, tell us a little bit more about the Standard Insight and what are your main offering to the customer.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, why we formed, or why my fellow co-founder, there's a quote by Bain Capital that says a 5% increase in customer retention can have a 25 to 95% improvement in profitability. So we had that in mind when this was developed. So our platform, it's an AI as a service growth marketing platform. It helps businesses prioritize and execute data-driven omnichannel campaigns. And why is this important, Jason? Well, it helps one's business, big or small, regardless of vertical, whether it's e-commerce, finance, or restaurants, target the right person with the right product or service at the right time. So if you know how to do this and you can synthesize this quickly, it can help drive both top and bottom line growth. And this helps one's business become competitive in an increasingly data-driven world with marketing precision using that buzzword artificial intelligence.
Now, speaking of that, I know you have got this product that you and Standard Insight have been building over the last 12 months. Correct me.
Yeah.
In terms of the,
yeah.
But this product is called iorder.menu. Tell us a little bit more about this iorder.menu and how is that different from other digital menu providers out there?
Well, it's different in 4 key ways. So as you know, Jason, we actually developed it last year and it failed. I'll be honest. Just people weren't ready to order from their phones this time last year. So we put it away for the time being. We started working on other projects, but once COVID came in February or March of this year, it shut the entire world down, right? In your neighborhood and in our neighborhood and everywhere in between. So we pulled it out and then retweaked it, reformed it, and then renamed it for the restaurant part and brick and mortar part, iorder.menu. So we differ in 4 key ways. Number 1, we offer personalized recommendations based on what Jason's favorite food item and Jerry's favorite food item. So that's number 1. 2, we offer data-driven marketing outreach. Number 3, we offer predictive and prescriptive analytics. And number 4, we allow restaurants to retain their digital identity. So if you look at one of our customers, it's a Thai restaurant up the street from me. If you put online Spoon, SPOON.iorder.menu, it's their restaurant. Their restaurant takes center stage, and their restaurant gets to take advantage of having their digital identity. And why are these 4 pillars, if you will, different from other platforms out there? Other platforms that are being used in the US and in Australia, like Uber Eats and Grubhub, the restaurants don't have the data. It's Uber Eats that has the data. They have the data and get to use it and get to monetize it. And then number 2, yes, there are other ordering apps out there, but if you take a look, the ordering app or that software company, their digital identity or their names are mentioned first. So that's how we feel these 4 reasons separate us from the other digital menu platforms out there, whether it's in the US, maybe in Australia. We're doing some work with one of the largest digital menu companies in Latin America or in India.
Right. Now, before we delve into some of the more of the technical bits, I want to go back to timeline before the COVID-19. I so agree with you when early on you said that COVID-19, in fact, accelerated the digital transformation. And that, I suppose, it has helped. The iorder.menu has picked up. But I suppose my question, though, is prior to that period where the customer in the state, and to some extent, it is exactly the same thing that I am seeing here in Australia, that the customer in this developed market, they don't seem to be quite interested in picking up their phone and order directly from their phone as opposed to what is happening in the Asia. Why do you think this is happening? Why do you think it's such a big difference between these two markets? While in fact, the developed market like the state or Australia, the mobile phone and the familiarity, the usage of the mobile is already quite high. So why do you think this discrepancy?
I think it's just a cultural mindset. In some places like in China, the rate of technological adoption is much higher than in the US. Just is, right? Here in the US, it's slower adoption for people to order on their phone. And they could be in restaurants or even in brick and mortar stores. But I believe over time, this will change. A couple things. If you go back 10 years ago, here in States, people rented their movies from Blockbuster Video, right? They would go into the store and then along comes Netflix, right? And that's how the whole ordering online movies started. Another example is with banking. People used to go to the bank and do their banking, manually deposit their checks. Now everything's being done on your phone. So I think it's just a behavior mindset, especially for the more westernized countries to adopt. And COVID was that event that helped speed up the adoption of these digital transformation, as they say.
What sort of speed are you seeing in terms of that adoption rate?
So average of restaurants, say a restaurant gets 100 orders per night. About 20% are doing it online, and the other 80 are still calling the restaurant to do the orders for takeaway.
Right, I see. So do you think, is there much more can do to help them moving into this using the phone to order rather than the call to order?
Yeah, so you could offer incentives, right, for someone to log into your app and to use it. Say, hey, Jason, we'll offer you XYZ discount, 5 to 10% by signing up and ordering through our online ordering mechanism.
Right. And do you work with your customer to provide this sort of incentive so that?
Yeah, we absolutely do. So obviously one way is to have if you're using a QR code on the tables and post it on social media. That's one way. What we've been doing is passing out stickers. So if you order, you go to the restaurant, you called it in, you pick up your food, and we'll put a sticker in, order online with the restaurant's name and web link, order online, and we'll have the QR code. So we're doing it more old school, if you will, manually by putting stickers into their bag. So yes, there's social media. Hey, order online. Here's the link, but we're also putting stickers. It's like you're a little kid, right? You get stickers. So now we're giving stickers into the bag. So next time when you take that food home, you're eating at home, and you see that sticker, hey, next time I'm going to order online or scan the QR code.
I think that two way of the sticker, I think it could work really well, especially in the early days to build that super loyal fans who will use there. It just came to me as I was looking at my fridge. Perhaps instead of a sticker, maybe it could be a fridge so that because
Yeah.
when they pick up the food and that is where they can think, well, instead of cooking, I am going to order and I.
Yeah. So, yeah, because sometimes, social media, on Twitter, Facebook, there's so much noise out there, but how many stickers do you get? How many stickers do you get? So if in your bag, you feel like a little kid again, you have a sticker in there and you just throw it in. It's like, hey, next time I order from this restaurant, I'm going to order online.
Now tell us a little bit more about when the customer of yours who using the I ordered menu. So what is the process like in terms of the setup at the client side and how do they integrate? Do they have to do much?
So they have to give us their menu in a CSV file and we just upload it. And obviously, there's always going to be adjustments have to be made because everyone's menu is different. And then we attach a payment gateway to it, and you're off to the races. So depending on the restaurant owner, how soon they can get the information to us and fill out the banking information, it can be done in a handful of days. And then we also do training for the staff, right? How to use our platform as well. It's intuitive, just like the other platforms out there, like Grubhub, Uber Eats, and the thousands and thousands of other digital menus.
Now, speaking of that, earlier on you mentioned that one of the key differences between your application or your solution as opposed to other is that you provide the restaurant owner the data so that they have that flexibility to do more analysis about that. Now, without sharing the trade secret, I trust you will walk that fine line. What sort of data do you gather and what sort of analysis, in fact, do you carry out on behalf of the restaurant owner and provide the value add service apart from the digital application itself?
So we'll get the typical when you log in, first name, last name, either your email or your phone number. So we have all your contact info. And then once you start ordering using the application, last time Jason went to the restaurant, he ordered a beef dish. Jerry ordered a chicken dish. And then we take your behavior patterns and what you've done and compare it to other people like you. So, hey, we found out that people who order beef dishes tend to order red wine. And then people that order chicken dishes tend to order white wine. And not only that, but we're continually working to upsell, cross-sell, because there's no waiter or waitress to tell you, hey, Jason, try this out. Jerry, try this out. So digitally, we're presenting upsell, cross-sell recommendations similar to what Amazon and Netflix are doing. So, Jason, you order a beef dish. Hey, try out this wine drink, right? Or try out this appetizer, or try out this dessert. So we're continually having upsell, cross-sell, and increasing the average order value. So the restaurant owner can get the data within just a few clicks of their mouse pad and execute campaigns around that. And this is all built into the platform. So you order a beef dish today, you return a week later, you log in, you can see your past orders, and it'll start comparing other people that ordered beef dishes, what they've ordered, and then make the recommendations to you.
Right. Now, if we can delve into a little bit of that whole recommendation in terms to help with the upselling and the cross-selling. So I presume that is a built-in functionality within the platform already. So I suppose who helps out to build the model in terms of that whole recommendation engine then? Is that from the input from the restaurant or was that primarily carried out by your team at the Standard Insight who are building the products?
It's primarily carried out by the team, our developers who built the product. Now, do we take input from the customers? Absolutely. But it's more on the functionality end, right? The user experience end. But all the back-end stuff that's taken care of by our developers.
Right, and that including the mathematical model that come out to do the recommendation engine then.
Correct. So we know all the meaning of an algorithm is it's a set of instructions that you tell a computer to do. So just basic high level without giving away any of the secrets. We're looking at RFM algorithms. We're looking at pattern matching algorithms.
Sorry, what is algorithm.
So it's a model where we score all the customers on their potential profitability. We look at three things: the recency, how recent someone purchased something, how often they purchased or gone to the restaurant, and how much money they've spent. And in some ways, we look at things, if you have the data, we'll segment customers, maybe behavior characteristics, geographic, demographic, or psychographic characteristics. So that doesn't really apply to restaurants. They could apply to other verticals, but just to give you the in-depth knowledge that are the power of our platform and how it can apply to digital menus.
Great stuff. Now, I know that one of the things that we chat a little bit earlier before we start, where you are passionate about, is your view in terms of the solution that you are providing. A lot of time when you are trying to help the business owner is how they can retain more revenue and how can they retain more, increase the spend from the existing customer. Now, that is just to help, especially that is similar to what you just talked about, that recommendation engine to increase the revenue pool from the existing customer. I suppose the other question I have for you on that angle is then, how do you help the business owner, like the restaurant, to market to their existing customer then?
Yeah. So once we have, you've been to the restaurant, say you average going there once a month. And so it's month number 5. We've got 5 order histories from you. So now we have your data. It's just as simple as hitting a couple buttons on the back end and execute campaigns. And that could be email, text, or social media. We're doing a lot of stuff with text just because people don't read a lot of emails, and texts are readily available. And the difference between us is that, yes, anyone can send, once they have the data, if your restaurant has that data, is that, okay, you can send Jason or Jerry maybe a promotion of one of your specials. But what happens if Jason's favorite dishes are beef and Jerry's favorite dishes are chicken? You already know that, hey, this Jason, he's always ordered beef dishes, but Jerry orders chicken dishes all the time. So now we can tailor and pinpoint with marketing precision, right, what you're likely to order. Because you may hate chicken, right? But you get a promotion, a text, chicken dish special. And like, well, I don't like chicken. So we're fine tuning and pinpointing over time as we get more and more data what someone's likely to order. And if you can do that, you'll increase the average order value.
Do you integrate with other marketing channel that already exist to help promoting the business using your solution?
Yeah, so we integrate, like Twilio is a big texting platform. So we can integrate with Twilio. You can use our platform with WhatsApp. I know that's starting to become big. So as long as a platform, and most do now have an API connector, we can connect and integrate with that.
Great stuff. Now, can you please share with us some of the success story of the customer who used this iOrder.menu?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you an example. A Thai restaurant up the street from us, their average order value, say they average about $30 per order, right? So, and people typically just order the main dish and that's that. They order and boom, that's it. But with our recommendations, so once you log into our recommendations, it'll say recommended for you, and there's a spinning carousel. So we're able to, over time, increase their average order value from $30 to $40, and the math is 33%. So just by suggesting a few drinks and an appetizer, now you're taking that bill from $30 to $40 over time. So if you get a cluster of people, you're increasing it $10, 33%. That adds up to your bottom line.
Wow, that number is amazing, 33%.
Yeah. And it's not like you're ordering like the next most expensive dish. It's just ordering a couple drinks or an appetizer. So we're not order another expensive dish. It's just a little incremental improvements that will generate the most revenue. So we're not even asking you to double your bill or order an extra. It's just appetizers, a drink, maybe dessert. And that's that. And you can't do that if you're in the restaurant. Yes, the waiter, waitress can do that. Jason, would you like a dessert, right? But without that, and even if you were dine-in, a lot of these restaurants have laid off their staff. For COVID, your restaurant had, let's just say, 10 wait staff. But because of COVID, 7 of them were laid off. Now you only have 3 people. Can they give as good of a service as when the 10 were there? No. So that's where the recommendation engine comes in. So we go beyond sales, right? Before we tell you how our platform can improve your sales or improve your average order value, you have to first work on the customer's mind, right? So 3 things that we work on the customer's mind. Number 1 is customer experience. Number 2 is preventing customer indecision. And number 3, tell them what to do next. So if your platform or app platform can do this, Jason or Jerry will be more likely ready to order more once they see the recommendation, just like with Amazon and Netflix, right? Sometimes when you go to Amazon, you want to buy just one product, but eventually you always end up buying 2 or 3 other products just because of those recommendations.
I think one thing that I pick up from what you were just saying, especially that you talk about how you use the platform to do those 3 things, especially how do you move the customer from one step to another. If we tie that to the whole culture in terms of the state, when you go to the restaurant, tipping is a must, and tipping is very much associated to the service level that provided by the wait staff. I can't help but to think about perhaps that whole systemization in terms of prompting people to do one thing to another using a digital application like this would basically means that eventually the whole tipping culture in the state might be can be gotten rid of. But more importantly, it's more about also how the restaurant owner could now provide a very consistent service across the entire restaurant. No longer they have to fear that the wait staff are not providing the experience and the customer service that they want for their customer, because the whole tipping culture and how that is dependent on the size of the tips.
Yeah, you mentioned something. I like what you said. It's all about consistency. If you can deliver that consistency day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, your restaurant will be successful even during COVID.
I agree. So what is the next step for you at the Standard Insight for this iOrder.menu? Are you rolling out to more city in the state, or are you looking at the international expansion?
So we're international expansion. So yes, we're based in the U.S. and we started in the U.S., but we're onboarding restaurants in India. And most recently, we've onboarded one of the largest digital menu companies in Latin America, and they're using our platform. The back end, they already have a very nice front end app, so we're not working with them, but we're helping them in the back end with our recommendation engine, right? With our data-driven marketing, with our predictive and prescriptive analytics. So they can be more competitive in the Latin America marketplace. Because yes, there may be cultural differences from the US to India to Australia to Latin America, but at the end of the day, everyone's suffering from COVID, right? So whether it's here in Atlanta or in Australia, you as a restaurant or a business owner have to figure out how can you differentiate yourself from your competitors so you'll survive and you'll win than those who don't do anything.
That's great to hear about this picking up of your recommendation engine by the South America company. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Good stuff. I look forward to see some good news coming out of that. And
yeah,
that brings us to almost the end of our interview. And I usually ask these 2 questions to all of my guests. Number 1 is, what is your most important first principle?
Yeah, it's never let a good crisis go to waste. That was coined by Winston Churchill. And why I chose that, yes, COVID was bad for everyone. For the US, Australia, India, Latin America, and everywhere in between. Yes, some bad things have happened, right? But those who choose to look at it as, okay, as a time for change, a time for improvement. Look at it more of a positive angle than a negative angle. So never let a good crisis go to waste. For us, we failed with the digital menu last year, but we developed it and then we adjusted it back when COVID started, and here we are. So never let a good crisis go to waste.
That is a very good principle to have. Now, what is one book that you have read and thought it would have been better for your younger self to have?
Yeah, that's Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. He's a retired Navy SEAL. And why I chose that, or why I chose that book, is that leading a team, I'm one of 4 co-founders. Initially, it was about ourselves and, how do we, A, develop this product, and B, get it out to the market, and C, get the initial customers. But growing a startup or scaling a startup, it's just not about the 4 co-founders. To be successful, you have to be able to train and motivate those on your team to do better than you, right? That's the only way you can grow. And that Extreme Ownership, it's a good book that promotes concepts of teamwork and making your team better than yourself so your company can grow.
That's a good book to have. I have never come across that book before, but I'm going to put that into my reading list of 2021. Jerry, thank you so much for coming on to the show and share with your experience about helping the restaurant industry with your product and how to use the data and analytics to help them driving the revenue at the restaurant. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me on.